Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now I've constantly been impressed with the AMD Athlon 3000G. This is a 2-core 4-threaded chip with integrated Vega graphics, and somehow it still manages to run some of the latest games with at least 30 frames per second, and if you were to turn the settings down it can even hit 60 in some instances. It is better suited to lower spec games, but today we're going to be seeing if it can run the demo of Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8. I have not very high hopes for this CPU, but let's get into it, try a few different graphical settings and see what this plucky little 2-core chip can actually do. Okay, so we have the face cam set up once again today just so I can talk to you as things are happening on screen. For the graphical settings, we're going to jump in at prioritize performance, simply because I think this is the best chance for the Athlon 3000G today. 1080p is probably not the best place to start. We're going to go with variable frame rate, VSync on. I don't think it matters at this point, at the moment. We're going to turn everything off or on. This is the first time I've played this demo on any platform, so yeah, I'm not really sure what to expect. It's probably not so much about the gameplay today as it is about the performance. TAA, that should be fine. The texture quality, we want that as low as we can go because, yeah, otherwise it's going to be a bit of a disaster. We'll have medium for the texture filter quality. That's as low as that can go. Mesh quality, can we turn low? That'll do. Everything else is set to off and we should be good. These are the lowest settings pretty much that the game allows us to go at the moment without changing the resolution, but I'm sure we'll have to do that in a minute. Let's first of all see how 1080p actually performs then. Okay, so not too bad. 2 cores and 4 threads along with the integrated Vega GPU here. We are getting about 25, okay, it's dropping, 20 to 30 frames per second. It really isn't too bad. The game, as you would expect, doesn't look brilliant, but it doesn't look terrible. As long as it's playable, then you know, I'm happy. I'm not too concerned with graphics when we're using something like this. I'm all about trying to hit 30 FPS, but it does seem as though this chip, yeah, isn't capable of that at 1080p, which I think was to be expected, but at least 20 frames per second, well, it's still a decent effort, I've got to say, for the 3000G, but let's switch resolution. Okay, so here we are at 900p. We are hitting that magic number, 30 FPS here. Let's just show you that in the options menu. We'll go down to display. Everything has been pretty much kept the same, but we are using 600 by 900 resolution now. And we are seeing just about 30 FPS. However, I think as we make our way into, well, not necessarily busier areas, but as we move around a little bit, we are going to see that drop. Yeah, 29 now, 30 still. It really isn't too bad. It's doing a lot better than I thought. Is this running the same engine as Resident Evil 7, which also ran, I know, on this, so yeah, actually thinking about it, and it's not too surprising that the game is running, but as you can see here, yeah, as we run into the centre of the village here, it does drop below 25, and again, I'm going to have to say that 900p, because of this, probably isn't the most playable experience in the world. 37 FPS now, if we just look at things close up, 29, 28, yeah, it really isn't too bad, but what we'll do, I think, is drop down to 720p because that's going to be the best bet for a chip like this. Okay, so here we are at 720p. I haven't changed anything else. I have turned VSync off. Now we'll keep the resolution 720p, 1280 by 720. The frame rate has shot up to around 45 FPS already. Okay, so here in the gameplay, and I have to apologise for the quality of this video now. YouTube's compression, along with the overall bitrate of the recording, or just the resolution of the game, is going to make this look pretty terrible to you. It looks pretty bad to me, so I imagine that any of you watching, well, you're going to be squinting to try and see what is happening here. The game doesn't look as bad when you're playing it. 720p isn't a complete blurry mess, to be honest. It's just YouTube compression and the recording capture card that's made it look a lot worse than it is. However, the frame rate seems to have improved. I thought something was going to be the other side of that door then. And yeah, we are seeing at least 30 FPS for the most part outside of the castle area. I just know as we make our way towards these crops, whatever they are, that the bitrate of the video is absolutely going to get hammered. Yeah, what was that? I'm no good with horror games. I will actually unplug the PC if something jumps out. Okay, yeah, so 40 FPS now. Remember, this is a 2-core, 4-threaded chip. I always get impressed with this thing, to be honest. It always does better than I think it's going to do. We have, I should mention, overclocked the Vega 3 iGPU ever so slightly from 1100 to 1500 megahertz. Now, I have overclocked these to 1650 before, but this time around, for whatever reason, the chip wouldn't actually boot into Windows. It got to the login screen and then just crashed the system. So I had to settle for 1500 megahertz up from the standard 1100 megahertz core clock here. The CPU speed has been untouched. As you can see, it's running at 3.5 gigahertz here. This is where it pretty much stays. We're also using 16 gigs of 3200 megahertz DDR4 in dual channel mode, very important for these APUs, and of course the higher the speed the better. What I'm going to do now is actually move into the castle area, remaining with 720p resolution, just to see how the frame rate differs. Okay, so I've been playing for a while now in the castle area, just running around here. This part here, this lobby area that I'm in, seems to actually be the most demanding. Our frame rate drops to around the mid-30s on occasion. Here you can see it's hovering around 40. I'm not quite sure what to do in the demo. As I said, it's not really about the gameplay here. It's just more about the performance. But yeah, let me just figure out what to do here, and we'll skip the video ahead a little bit. Alright, so yeah, as you can see upstairs here, we're seeing about 50 to 60 frames per second on occasion, which is quite impressive. I've picked up this maroon eye ring now. Here the frame rate is still hovering around 50 FPS. Honestly, it is a pretty decent experience with the 3000G. It doesn't look the best, but if you are stuck with one of these, well, I shouldn't say stuck. If you have one of these in your system and you're wondering whether to pick up Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village in a few days' time when it officially releases, the full game releases, well, I don't think you should hesitate to do so, because you can still get a pretty enjoyable experience from it. What am I doing here? I think you still can get a pretty enjoyable experience from it if you don't mind 30 FPS, if you don't mind a few dips, and of course you have nothing else to play on. We're using the integrated graphics, which, to be honest, yeah, it's surprising here what this thing can do. I have no idea what I'm doing here, to be honest. Oh, I see. We've got to actually remove the eye from the ring itself. So, yeah, let's examine that, and then we can. We take the. Yeah, okay, I understand now. Yeah, I've never been very good at Resident Evil games. I'm not one for logical puzzles, stuff like that. But hopefully now we can get through this door. I imagine the frame rate is probably going to drop if something jumps out at me on the other side. But the 3000G, it is... Oh no. What is happening? Still at least 40 FPS, so honestly not that bad. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it here. The 3000G is running the game pretty well. I can't imagine the full game is going to differ too much performance-wise, if at all, because yeah, this is a demo that was released pretty late, or pretty close to the actual final game's release, so I don't think you're going to see much of a performance difference, if any. And yeah, the Ryzen APUs are obviously going to perform better, and you might be able to stick with high resolutions, but the 3000G, the 2-core 4-threaded chip, is certainly giving it its best shot here, and I'd certainly recommend overclocking the integrated graphics. But thank you for watching. Oh dear, good place to end, really. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like on it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And hopefully, I'll see you all in the next one.